looking at the headlines of the week as we are joined by Will Richond, the digital news editor at the Fall River Herald News. Will, welcome back.
Thanks, Keith. How's it going?
This is definitely a day we should do this outside. It's the first warm weather day we've had in a while. It was beautiful yesterday, nice today, and hopefully we're in a good stretch of weather coming up as we head toward the unofficial beginning of summer this weekend, Memorial Day. So, as always, thanks for joining us. Let's get right to it. Let's first, we've talked about quite a bit over the past few weeks dealing with the school committee and the fiscal 2017 school budget. Well, the school committee this week finalized its version of the budget that it sent to the city, a total of $137.9 million, which is higher than the spending plan last year. Actually, based on the net school spending figure that's going to be set for this year of $135.5 million. It's actually higher than that figure. For people who don't know, talk about how this process unveiled, and I guess what are the prospects of this number, 137.9, actually making it to fruition?
Well, it would seem that that number will not appear to be the number in the municipal budget. While the school committee does vote on what they believe the appropriation should be, it's mainly a symbolic vote based on their best wishes for the mayor to include in the budget. Ultimately, the sit-in mayor, in this case, Jazel Correa, has ultimate authority over the budget. He will allocate what he feels is the proper number that fits into the total budget amount, including the municipal side. Correa has said he will commit 100% of net school spending, but even at this point, that number seems to be elusive as we go back and forth between the school department, the city administration, and the Department of Education to finalize past practices, what may be owed in net school spending from past years. The unfortunate part is it doesn't seem that number will be known by the time that the mayor has to submit his budget to the city council by Tuesday. So just what the final number will be, it would seem to be a little closer to the $133 million number that was initially identified for 100% of net school spending. But what the final number will be, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, the mayor has committed to spending to 100% of net school spending. It's just, again, as you said, what is that number? As I mentioned earlier, that number appears to be, by some accounts, $135 million. The mayor is looking at a $133 million number, which was the net school spending number for this current fiscal year of FY16. So, as you said, the mayor is scheduled to release his budget next week. I'm sure we'll be talking about that next week at this time. Just one other issue in terms of the school department, Will. It was announced that the search committee for the superintendent of schools for the city of Fall River have now identified 10 candidates for that position to replace Meg Mayo Brown, who's leaving at the end of this school year. And actually, those names will be put forward as part of an interview process. So there is some progress there.
Yeah, there were originally the 19 applicants that had submitted by the deadline. The search committee has narrowed that down to 10 candidates, all with urban school district experience. They are not saying if there are any internal candidates, and at this point the names do remain sort of sealed away only to the search committee's knowledge. So those 10 candidates will be interviewed in groups of 2 over 5 days in June. Those sessions will be closed to the public, but once the final group of finalists are announced, those interviews would take place in open session.
Is it still the intent of the committee to have a new superintendent by July 1?
I don't think the advertisement for the position, I think, identified April 1st as a start date with the caveat or sooner if available.
You meant August 1st.
August 1st,
You said April. I'm like, they're late.
August 1st, you got it. So, I mean, there may be an overlap period here where an interim superintendent could be needed for some time during the summer, unless the selected applicant is able to pick up and leave and, walk right into the position on July 1st.
Right, there's always that transition, especially if someone's coming from another school district. They need to make sure that what's going on in that school district is in good hands before that person leaves. So it's understandable that there will be some sort of an adjustment period. Let's shift to the City Council and back to trash, where this week the City Council passed on its first reading an ordinance which will, in effect, get rid of the trash fee that was instituted by Mayor Sam Sutter. The vote was 6-3. And normally on the first reading, you will expect that to also be the same type of vote when it comes to the second reading, which will be in a couple of weeks. So it looks like the trash fee here in the city of Fall River, which Mayor Correa had said he wanted to abolish, looks like it will be abolished.
Yeah, the trash fee appears to be on its way out. The mayor's office and the financial team has said that they will provide full transparency in how those revenues will be recouped in the upcoming fiscal year budget. So that's something we'll be waiting to see with the budget release as well. And then in addition to the fee being the first step in the fee removal taking place, the committee or the council also voted this week to eliminate the sanitation enterprise fund.
Right.
So a lot of movement in the Fall River trash talk this week.
So they kind of go hand in hand. Has there been any indication on how many residences or owners of residences have been fined with not using the pay-as-you-throw system here in Fall River?
There is not. We have made some inquiries to the mayor's office regarding those numbers. From what we hear, they are optimistic about the numbers that have come out so far. Seems to be a good compliance rate, but we haven't been provided any actual hard data on where that stands at this point.
Was there any indication? I'm interviewing the reporter. Is there any indication on whether the city will give a timeline on when they may release some of that information, or?
I think they do plan on giving out some numbers. It's just a matter of them collecting all that data into a presentable situation and then presenting it to the public.
All right. One final City Hall issue this week. The Mayor's Chief of Staff, Chris Perino, announced his resignation from the office yesterday. Only been on the job for a little over 5 months. It seems like that when it comes to filling the positions in the city government, the mayor's had a little difficult time. Obviously, he was questioned over his appointment of Mr. Perino to that position, and also the mayor's been under fire over his initial hiring of a new director of the DCM. So not smooth sailing in terms of some appointments to city government positions. First of all, what do you know about Mr. Perino's resignation?
At this point, we haven't been given anything firm in terms of the exact reasons. They indicated in a press release yesterday that he was leaving to explore other opportunities, kind of a blanket statement for someone when they leave a position. So, we have our City Hall reporter, Joe Good, has been poking around trying to dig up or find out a little more information on that situation, but nothing solid at this point to say what the exact reason is. As for the other positions, the DCM one seems to be, there hasn't been a lot that has gone very smoothly with the whole trash situation to this point. DCM position being one of those layers. So I think as a whole, almost more so than the personnel issues, but the trash issue has been its own problem, which wrapped up DCM as well.
Right. And all of this always tends to come back to the city budget. And as we said, the mayor is expected to release his budget by June 1st, which is, as you said, next Wednesday, June 1st. So we'll have to find out what we see next week, and I'm sure that may be dominating our conversation 1 week from now. All right, Will, what do we have coming up in the Herald News over the next few days?
Well, we'll have full coverage of all of the Memorial Day events taking place throughout the area. So we'll be in all the towns between Saturday and Monday covering different events. And on Sunday, we've got an interesting look at two of the city churches, one that has taken a modernized approach to the ringing of their bells, and another that kind of took a step back in time this week and held a Latin Mass. So a little bit of the yin and yang of the Fall River churches.
So like old and new in some respects. All right, Will, have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, take it easy, Keith.